Ladies and gentlemen, this is a story that came out in RT News. China's approach encouraged dependency, Tillerson claims Beijing exploits African countries. America is the last place on this planet that needs to talk about exploitation. You have exploited the entire goddamn world. How the hell are you going to preach to somebody else about exploitation? See, the problem is, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, Africa recently got the news that Trump called the continent a shithole. That news is spreading across Africa now. They know. And now the U.S. is groveling and whining about China because China is gaining in Africa and America is losing the continent to China. Personally, I don't believe either force need to be in Africa. You laughing at the African people, you always putting Africa down, then get your ass out of there. Get your ass out of there. And I don't feel sorry for the U.S. losing Africa because, number one, you've been in there for centuries. What have you done for the country other than take, and leave the people with nothing? Ladies and gentlemen, they caused all of those famines that happened in Africa. They raped the land so badly to the point where the people couldn't even take care of themselves. They caused those famines. And I remember they used to sit around here laughing about that. Why won't they just grow their own food? Because these people are ignorant. And they were laughing and chuckling up decades ago. And then once they found out they caused the famine, they stopped talking about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. hasn't done a goddamn thing in Africa other than mistreat the people and take the resources. They've done it for centuries. See, China is winning them over because, China is building up the infrastructure in Africa. They're putting highways in where there were no roads. China is putting railways in. China is also in the process of providing internet for 100 million Africans. That's how they're winning the African people over. America has been in there for centuries on top of centuries on top of centuries, and they couldn't sit in your face and name anything that they've done for those African people other than some damn money. Oh, we gave them money. Well, you know why people don't want money from America anymore? Because, America uses money as a weapon. Oh, we'll just pull our money. Oh, we won't give you no money. We'll just take the money. You listen to Nikki Haley in the UN conferences that shows on C-SPAN. That's exactly what she does all the time. And it's now gotten to the point. Listen to those countries when she talks about withholding funds. Many of them are now getting up in her face and say, keep your damn money. We don't want your money. You know why? Because many of them are getting their money from China now. They don't need to come to the U.S. for money. China's economy and wealth has grown to the point where people can now flock to them and get whatever they need. And they get it minus the American attitude. I mean, look, they deal with people like that here. I remember in Baltimore when they had the riots after Freddie Gray, And the people there were refusing to talk to the media because the media in the country always distorts everything. This is the white people. You gonna need the media. You can't, no, we don't. No, we don't. The black community don't need your lame ass media. But see, that's how they always come and talk to you. And this is how they've been handling Africa. And then they want to know why the results are bad for the U.S. now. You done spent centuries taking every resource out of there because you can't live without those resources. No matter how much you claim you can, you can't. America wouldn't even be in the condition that it's in if it wasn't for its dependency on Africa. Literally everything you're looking at in your house got some type of resource in it that came from Africa. Including the car you drive every day, and the computer you use every day, and the cell phone that you use every day. But see, these people are such big idiots. They don't take the time to learn a goddamn thing. All they do is run their mouth and talk and run their big mouth. But they don't take the time to learn what resources that the U.S. get from Africa that they highly depend on every day. They won't take the time to learn it. They would prefer to sit around talking about Africa is a shithole. Well, then why have you been in that shithole for centuries? Why do you continue to be in that shithole today? And why are you so overly concerned about China's presence in the shithole? You know, they have spent centuries trying to convince us that Africa is worthless. But isn't it amazing how the Most High gave the resources to the dark people on the entire globe and gave the pale people nothing? Nothing. In fact, if it wasn't for slavery, the pale people on the earth would have nothing, especially in America. Your sunburning pussball asses couldn't build up America. Hell, you got to put on sunscreen even on a damn cloudy day, or you'll burn up. Physically, you can't build any place up because your skin won't let you do it. See, if you would have built relationships and respected the people on the earth, no matter how different they were from you, you might have seen better results today. You are seeing the results that you're looking at due to oppression, subjugation, disrespect towards others. America hasn't even mastered basics when it comes down to relationships with other people. Stay off the soapbox about Africa. Your country would be a third world nation if it wasn't for the resources that came from Africa. This place it really is a shithole because of the attitudes of the people here. Your attitudes make America a shithole. But as far as you losing the continent of Africa now, it's a long time in the making. People are not responding to America in the same way anymore. I kid you not. Just watch the UN conferences that come on C-SPAN. People aren't responding to America the same way. It is a hell of a difference now than even 10 and 20 years ago. People are no longer taking kindly to their money threats, withholding money and their threats of withholding cash from other countries. People ain't taking kindly of that shit. Look, they put harsh sanctions recently on China over North Korea. China is still going strong. And see, the reason why the sanctions that they put on North Korea never worked is because Russia and China has been helping them all along. This is why those sanctions have not really worked the way they wanted to see them work. It's just like Zimbabwe. They're retrieving the land back. And what are they doing? Oh, well, you see what happened in Zimbabwe. No, what happened in Zimbabwe was sanctions. It had nothing to do with taking land from the whites that stole it. Namibia is also taking land from whites that stole it. It had nothing to do with no land and farming white people did. It had everything to do with sanctions that you put on that country. But see, once black people get the land and can farm on the land and do everything themselves, those sanctions are not even going to make a difference. It's not going to make any difference. And all the things that you're claiming black people can do, they're going to get up and do it. It's going to be just like Black Wall Street all over again, where you claim black people could run businesses. Not only did they run businesses, they became more wealthier than the white people in America. That's why they got mad and jealous and went in there and bombed it for the black community. They went in there and bombed it and had to kill people because, see, they couldn't have the former slaves show them up, which we always do, by the way. But see, there's only so much oppressing you can do without it finally catching up to you. See, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the day and age of their oppression, their subjugation, their racism is now imploding right in their faces. And they don't know what to do about it because they have spent the greater centuries sitting on their asses and not trying to lift a finger as far as building relationships with others. They felt like they had privilege. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to build a good relationship with you. They didn't have to build a good social network around the country. They had privilege. They were white. That was their attitude. For centuries and centuries and centuries, that's been their attitude. Now here we are, hundreds of years later, and that attitude is failing them. I'm going to let you listen to this news clip from RT, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
The U.S. Secretary of State is on an official tour of African nations, first stop, Ethiopia. Now, ahead of the trip, Rex Tillerson claimed that the continent's being exploited by China, an issue that's expected to dominate the upcoming talks. RT's Igor Zhdanov takes a look at whether Africa is a new theater for U.S.-China rivalry.
The United States wants Africa back in its pocket, which is, all things considered, a bit of a tall order. Just a few months ago, African nations learned that, according to Trump, they, well, to paraphrase the president, kinda stink. Now the State Department is on a bridge-building mission.
We partner with African countries by incentivizing good governance to meet long-term security and development goals. This stands in stark contrast to China's approach, which encourages dependency, using opaque contracts, predatory loan practices, and corrupt deals
China, you see, is something of a major headache for Washington. Beijing has been courting African nations for years. The Asian powerhouse is involved in crucial infrastructure projects there. It's invested billions of dollars in a railroad linking the continent from east to west, effectively opening the door for Pan-African trade. Kenya is one country in particular that has benefited from China's cash injections. It got its own railway, the largest infrastructure development since its independence more than half a century ago. But even this pales in comparison to a Chinese construction firm's ambitions in South Africa to build an $84 billion city. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of aid, education investments, a Chinese TV channel for the African audience. Beijing is going all in here. Its soft power strategy has already made China second most popular destination for African students. And its military is in Africa too. Last year, China opened its first overseas base with a facility in Djibouti. The same year, it held joint drills with Tanzania. Chinese soldiers have already been here for a few years. Its peacekeepers have been involved in missions across Central Africa. So is it really that much of a surprise that some African nations prefer the Chinese way over America's sweet talk?
The Chinese has been front and center in providing us with the roads we have in this country.
China has developed optimum capacity in this regard. So we are working very hard together, and we believe that working together would bring about mutually beneficial relationship.
China's become successful in Africa because China tends to favor and tends to stress civilian projects. Some years ago, the first President Bush said the United States had more will than wallet, which means it's not able to offer the kinds of aid that China is so generously providing. There is a real fear in Washington that China is in the passing lane, and that sooner rather than later, the Chinese economy, if it is not already, will be larger than the United States economy, which will have monumental impact on the balanced forces globally.
Right now, China has outrun the United States in Africa on every front, and it will take more than just words for Washington to elbow its way past Beijing. Igor Zhdanov, RT.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that, right? See, America does the same thing that it does here. They don't want to do nothing for the black population. They don't want to right their wrongs with us. They don't want to do anything from Africa other than rape the resources. And then when everybody gets upset, you know what they do? Talk. Use a bunch of empty words. Talk. Well, those days are over. People want to see results. They're not trying to listen to your empty words anymore. You know, and this is why everybody is responding to you differently now. It's not the same game, not anymore. See, and when we don't respond to you the way you want, you come with the usual threats. Go back to Africa if you don't like it. Go back to Africa. And sending your lame ass cops out here just to be a bunch of bullies. Nobody's going to respond to you better. Get used to it, because it's about to get worse for America on this planet. Folks don't take kindly to your empty words anymore. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell twice, and join me on Black Junction TV and blackspot.com. Peace, family.